Right. Hello, my name's Ned, and this is the second video in the series I'd like to call "Put Me in Coaching." And in this video, I'm going to talk about the some of the previous head coaches of TSM and their current head coach Weldon, who was previously their sports psychologist, who would come in every once in a while. So first, let's start with Parth, who was the most recent head coach that is no longer the head coach, and his strengths and weaknesses as a head coach. So he was kind of brought in as a band-aid fix because Reginald was previously the head coach who also was a band-aid fix, and then Parth was their analyst and sometimes maybe their strategic coach, I'm guessing. But they brought him in as the head coach, and I don't think this was a really good idea because he encounters a lot of the same problems as I mentioned in my previous video of Put Me in Coaching when I talked about Reaper. He doesn't have charisma, and he it's hilarious if you watch the TSM videos. You can see I feel sorry for him because he doesn't know how to communicate with his team in a way that earns respect for him. He talks to the ground. He talks real small. He goes like this. He goes, "Okay, guys. So in our pick band phase, we're gonna try to first pick rice, and it's important that when before we're in the game, we're talking about our win conditions." And he doesn't talk in a way that where the players want to listen to him. He doesn't talk in a way where they're going to pay attention or respect him, and he doesn't talk in a way where it's going to be drilled into their head where they're going to remember it when they're playing the game, when they're playing to win important games. So already there he has a problem. In terms of strategic mind and game knowledge, the guy's a genius, right? They wouldn't keep him on as an analyst over their previous analyst, which they fired, who I thought did fine jobs, and they wouldn't have kept him for this long or even had faith in him as a head coach, even if it is just a band-aid fix, if he didn't have this sort of mentality about him. But I think as a head coach, he doesn't have the charisma that a head coach requires. I would keep him on as a strategic coach or an analyst where he has been, and I would hire somebody who has more charisma to be the head coach. And some previously they were using Reginald as the band-aid fix as their head coach, and he has almost the exact opposite problem, where he has all the charisma, he earns the attention of the players, but and he earns the respect of the players, and he doesn't even earn it. He has it for being their boss, for being somebody they can recognize, and he has just that aura about him, that almost that captain's aura, because he was the captain of TSM for a while and he has all the experience of being a player. But he, for whatever reason, I guess what he's saying just isn't right. Like he doesn't set the right sort of things for the team to do because they're clearly listening to him, but they're not having success, which means if they're listening to him and not having success, it means that he's telling them to do the wrong things. So they're listening to what he's saying, but he might be telling them to do the wrong things. And I think the guy's actually decently smart when it comes to the game. If you listen to him when he's watching the when he's in the sort of locker room of the players, watching the live stream of them playing on stage, a lot of the things he's saying seem strategically sound. But I think when where he falls short is when it comes to team mentality and when he's trying to implement practice structures that maybe his ideas aren't the greatest, and maybe somebody else might have better ideas of how to maintain a team morale and how to set up a healthy practice environment and how to set up healthy communication in the game. So let's move on to somebody who's been successful, which is the new guy they brought in, Weldon. Which there's got to be something magic about this guy because every time he comes in, he has such an immense effect on the team. It brings up the morale. They always win. They almost have a 100% win rate whenever the week he comes in, and then the week he leaves, they look just as terrible as they were before. And this split, they have a near perfect record. They've lost some games, but they haven't lost one series yet. And so there's got to be something that this guy does. And I think what he does well is he also has a charisma about him, but he doesn't have the same kind of charisma that Reginald has, where he just immediately earns their respect, and they almost I don't want to say fear Reginald, but it's almost a fear that they have of him because they know that, or it's almost like an intimidation they have that he's sort of a somebody who's in a higher position than them. But Weldon, what he has that is different is he's liked by them, and so already he also has results which they respect. Like whenever he came in, they were winning and they had good results. And even this goes back to CLG when Doublelift was on the team because that's how they initially found him. He helped CLG out, and then Doublelift said, "Hey, we should bring him to TSM." So he for whatever reason, whenever he comes in, he says the right things to make the team win because the correlation is just too strong between him coming in and helping the team and him and when he leaves and them losing. So saying that, I don't know if that necessarily means he's going to be a great head coach because as a head coach, he could encounter some problems. He could encounter problems like when the players don't like him because I mentioned previously that he earns a lot of his or a lot of the charisma he brings to the table is because he's likable and the players like him. But when he has to be the guy that the players don't like and he has to implement the hard practice hours and he has to make to enforce the rules of the house and to say that to the player that he's wrong or that he needs to be doing this in a way where he has to come across as the guy they don't like, he might lose some of that respect and so his charisma level might seem a little lower to the players. But one thing I think that's interesting is bringing him as a head coach and as a full-time employee of the TSM house is that he he's dealing with players that need somebody to manage their emotions. Particularly, I think the most noticeable case of this hotshot sort of big ego player is Doublelift, right? And having a psychologist in house to help him sort of keep a level head through the games and visualize winning and visualize how to better himself when they lose is really important. I think that it's he's the perfect person to come in and be a full-time employee of the TSM house. But I don't know if necessarily his position should be a head coach. And it might work out great because so far it has been working out great. But um, I just think that in general he has that charisma about him. He doesn't have any strategic sense of League of Legends. Certainly not as much as anybody else in the house has. But he does come from a traditional sports background, and it seems to me like he's working out. So I wish him the best. It's good for North America when TSM if TSM can do well at international tournaments. And I think I'll end the video there. Thanks for watching, and bye.